Hello and welcome to NextOppSocial. We are your hosts, Richelle Wright, Joanne Buford, and Nina Payne. We believe entrepreneurship is empowerment, and we are committed to the development and progress of entrepreneurs, providing you with the information you need to build thriving businesses. Today, we are very pleased to welcome Dr. Paula Ruffin, chiropractor and owner of the new Husdon Chiropractic Wellness Center. So welcome, Dr. Ruffin.
Thank you so much.
Excited to have you.
So excited to be here.
So let's dive in. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got started with entrepreneurship.
Okay, so how much time do we have? It all started when, so I originally have been in practice for 23 years, been in chiropractic practice. I also practice functional medicine. So I do a lot of nutrition, root cause nutrition, functional medicine testing, digestive testing, food allergies, food sensitivities, the whole gamut, which is really awesome because I can take this 30,000 foot view of everybody that comes into my office and really be able to come up with a complete package to get them from where they are to where they want to be. And so that was a full development of things over time, as probably many of you, I know, Joanne, when we talked, the evolution of a career and where you start, and you just start adding things in. And when I started practice, I was just practicing chiropractic. I did a little bit of nutrition. I dabbled in it. And I really started to find that I needed something more. I needed to be able to provide people with something more under my umbrella. You know, when you're sending people off to a big box store to buy supplements, knowing that they're not great and they're not really going to correct their problem, then I was like, well, why don't I just be the provider of something super high quality that I know is going to be life-changing for them? And then that also helps my bottom line, as well as makes me feel better about what I'm providing for people. So that's how my business evolved. I've gotten a couple of certifications over the years. I go to continuing ed, just constant education, podcasts, like anything that I can to continue that level of service. Prior to that, I really give the credit to my mother for me being an entrepreneur, because we grew up in Detroit. My mom was a single mom raising 4 kids, and she was a seamstress. And so my first taste of entrepreneurship, which I had no idea that was, this is just what my mom did, right? So I didn't know what an entrepreneur was. I didn't know what that meant. But my mom we would wake up in the morning, we would have a home cooked meal. She'd give us a bag lunch, send us off to school, and she would go out, and she had she called it Sally's Ties for Guys, and she made custom made neckties back in the 70s, and they were cool. And when she passed, we found a whole box of her neckties, and we all wore her neckties to the funeral. So it was really cool. So that's what she did. Then we came home, she had dinner on the table, and then she would go in the basement and she would sew all night, and we'd get up and we'd do it all over again. And this is how she raised us, and this is how she fed the family. And when we were, I was probably 8, 9, 10, somewhere in there, and my brother was diagnosed as hyperactive. So today there's a whole bunch of labels that you put on it. He now is president and owner of a multi-million-dollar company. So, it's all good. Talk about entrepreneur, right? Runs in the family. So he was hyperactive, and the doctor wanted to put him on medication. My mom said, she gave him 1 dose of Ritalin one day and said it turned him into a zombie. And she was like, never again. So she cleared out the house, no more sugar, no more junk food, took all the processed foods. This is back in the 70s. And she really was like a health nut. People called my mother a health nut. And that really became ingrained in me. So then as I started to get older, healthy eating, home cooked meals, now today when I see we've got 2 parent families who are running through McDonald's, and I'm sorry, I just don't think there's any excuse for it. If my mom could do it in the 70s, when it wasn't, it was a lot harder to do those things than people can do it today, like feeding your kids well, getting, we've got 50% of all of our children in the United States have some kind of chronic health issue. That is a problem. That is a true epidemic. So, so that was, without knowing where I was going, that I look back and I say, that's really what set the stage for me to be able to be where I am today. So, so I think, I thank my mama for those great lessons, and it got me going.
I love it. That is an incredible story.
Thank you.
And I think what really resonates for me as I listen to you, oftentimes entrepreneurs start up businesses out of need, right? I mean, they hit some type of financial hardship, and that kind of more or less serves as the catalyst. And they start taking inventory of themselves, and they decide, okay, these are the skills, these are the gifts, these are somewhere some of my interests fall in line. I'm going to start this business. But to hear the extent to which you've been shaped by your upbringing and how you've been able to find resonance with that and be able to share that with the world, I mean, that's pretty incredible. I mean, it speaks volumes of why you're so successful.
Thank you.
Right.
Well, and think about it. My mom did it out of necessity. She had she was a seamstress. She was a damn good seamstress. And we see pictures when she was younger. She made all of her clothes, and I mean, she was like movie star clothes. She was always dressed to the nines. So she had this major skill, and she was able to turn it into a business out of necessity. So right to your point, Joanne.
Yes. So I know at a certain stage, we all start up businesses and we deal with the stress and strain of transitioning from a team of me to a team of we. And I know we talked a great deal about that, and hearing your journey and just kind of how you found your way through that and making that transition. And I thought that's one of the most fascinating stories that I had heard. I know it could be so beneficial. What did that process look like for you? That's not easy to do.
Yeah, we talked about so much. Which part of that? Because I've gone from me to we to me to we, over 23 years, and I've just found that if you aren't 100% entrenched in the me, then when the we part leaves because staff turnover and you don't know how to run your business, you're going to be in trouble. Yeah. So while it's no fun being me, and I don't know if this is answering your question or not, so we can get back to that, but I'm currently, when you're new in business, and I'm not sure if I had said this to you before, but when you're new in business, just that, like, it's a team of me because we work hard, we dig in, we really don't have the resources to pay staff, so we do everything. But at a certain point where the only way we're going to get bigger and scale is by people. So initially in business, it's hard work in ourselves. And then later on in business, it becomes, we then need that team. So I'm currently, and I've had that ebb and flow. And then of course, through COVID, it was pretty much a team of me through COVID. And now I'm ready. I mean, I'm exploding and I need staff. So it's, and because I see it, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, if I could come through a pandemic with my best year ever in 23 years of practice. And I think I mentioned this to you, Joanne, is that 2020 was not a 12-month year for business owners. 2020 was a 9-month year. I think on average, for restaurant industries, it was a shorter year. But for most of us who were in practice, there was about 3 months where like just dead in the water. It was the constant scrambling. What am I going to do? How am I going to stay alive? So I call it a 9-month year. And I came out of 2020 6% higher than I did in 2019. So I did in 9 months 6% better than what I did in 2019, which up until 2020 was my best year ever in practice. So and that was mostly, I've been doing this mostly on my own because finding reliable staff, finding somebody who really has a good leadership quality to be able to take control of the office and allow me to be able to do the doctoring and take my mind off of the administrative stuff. I don't want to worry about that stuff, you know. I need to be focused on the things that are going to make money in business, not the day-to-day operations where somebody can actually just be getting that stuff done for me. So I don't know if that was an answer to your question, but
it does, because it's a mindset thing, right? You reach a point in business where you realize I can't afford not to have staff. Right? I hear people saying I can't afford to hire staff, but you really want to work yourself to the point where you can't afford not to have it, right? That's how you scale and grow. And then for me, what was really fascinating about learning this about you was, look, a lot of people took their head and literally put it in the sand during the pandemic. They just gave up, right? We know there's 40+% of businesses that close and will never open their doors again. And a lot of it is, yeah, I mean, there were financial hardships, other things that occurred that sometimes are out of people's control. But the grit that you exhibited and the different things you did within the community that aren't necessarily novel, but different. I mean, you did the exact opposite. I mean, you took whatever time you needed to take to resettle for 3 months, but then you were out the gate and to have one of your most profitable years when other people are going the opposite direction. Yeah. I mean, talk to us. What does that process look like? What were some of the steps that you took?
Well, it's really interesting, and that's a great question. So I think also, if you all are like me in business, we want to talk to, follow, listen to every business guru podcast, anything we can get our hands into, right? It all sounds amazing. And so during the pandemic, you know, I have all of these business groups that I'm a part of. And I found one specific group that really, like, everybody sounds great. Everybody's information sounds great until you've got to really be paying attention. Like, there's no more shiny object chasing. You have got to just, like, focus it. And so I'm in a group called the Black Diamond Club, and it originally was a group of chiropractors and led by chiropractors, but these chiropractors they actually private coach. Their private coach is Jay Abraham. So we are getting, like, you know, if for your listeners who aren't familiar with Jay Abraham is, he's one of the top, probably the top business coaches in the world. So when you're coaching with the people who coach with somebody like that, that's a big flipping deal. You know, you're getting the right information right from the top. So what I found was, it seemed like all these other groups, it was a lot of noise. And so I really zeroed in on what they were telling me, because it made sense. They were forecasting things. They were very specific. There was a strategy, where other groups are just like telling you stuff. Try this, try this, try this. And Sean Dill, who runs the Black Diamond Club, he was very strategic about the information and how to make sure that your business, you know, yeah, we had to get those loans out, or, you know, apply for the loans. We had to do those things. But in the meantime, there were the other things that needed to be done to set our business up. Because it's like this, when the pandemic ends, if it's over, I'm not sure, I think we're close to it, but, you know, we'll just say when the pandemic ends, do you want to be the person standing at the starting line when the gun goes off, or do you want to be the person who's taking a running start and hits that starting line as the gun goes off, right? And that's me. So I am in motion. Other people, like you said, have just, you know, they got paralyzed. They were afraid. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know they were not being, I don't know if they weren't being given the right information, or if they weren't listening, or if they just didn't have the proper resources. But it's so important to find the voices, the people, the mentors that you truly resonate with. And this is what, and I'm telling you, I think it was truly my game changer to tune out all the other noise, listen to one voice, and be able to stay on that path. And so I think, too, what you're referring to, things that I did in the community was and still is, I just did one yesterday, So during the pandemic, I was reaching out to other business owners. Hey, none of us are at our businesses. Let's do an interview. Let's do a podcast. So I was interviewing one or two business owners on a weekly basis and just profiling. It's just a spotlight interview. What's going on in your business? What do we need to do? Is there any way we can help you? What do you, how's your business being affected? Are there resources and things that you can offer? If people, and I had spoken to people who were doing well through the pandemic, what advice do you have for other people in business? So that took off. And then now what I'm doing is I'm going to different businesses in the community and I'm opening up a tab. Hey, we did Play and Grow. It's this woman just opened, she signed a letter of intent last March and then ended up not taking the space until just this March. And it's just little kids, 0 to 6, 7 years old, like a little play gym area for moms to bring their kids and hang out. And she's, people don't know she's there. So I went out with another friend of mine, Kim Yazbek. She's a realtor in my area. And she, we opened a tab. We each put $100 down and, it's something like, hey, I'm here at Play and Grow with Melanie, and she's just opened up her business and we need you to come and support her. Tell them it's all going to be okay. And you're going to get $5 off of your next session with you and your kids. Stressed out moms, you need to be here. Come and support Melanie, come and support the community and have fun and take some stress off of your kids and you. So something like that, right? So do a video and put it out there, tag everybody, cross promote, start using each other as leverage because we can't do it alone. We've got to come together as a collective. And I've done this a couple of times where the person I did it for did nothing with it, didn't take it, didn't share it, didn't comment on it, like nothing. And I'm like, okay, you've got, like, this is the only way right now. Like I put you on my back for a while, but now we are locking arms and now we're going forward together. So that's the thing is, I'm really looking for the collaborative people. I've called people and say, hey, I want to come and put $100 down on your business and do a promotional video. And they're like, I don't really know. I don't know. Okay, next, I don't have time for that. Right. Like I got plans.
Wow.
So that's what I did. And so now what's happening is I'm getting invited on more podcasts. So this is great. I'm getting invited. I have a ladies event that I'm invited to tonight. I've got, I was asked to join the DDA in Lyon Township, which has just been something I wanted to do for years. So now I'm on the board of the DDA and I'm actually, being a part of building the infrastructure of the community, which is so cool. So things are happening. And another interesting thing was when I first started doing this, I went to this one little coffee shop and he said, are you new in town? And I said, no, I've been here 20 years. I've been in practice 23, been in New Hudson 20. So, and I use, so just to not confuse people too much. But I said, no, I've been here 20 years. And that was the light bulb that said, you need to be doing this consistently because people don't know you. If I've been here 20 years and I don't know the community and I'm on the board of the DDA, so going out and opening these tabs has become a mission for me to get to know each and every business in my community and be preeminent among the community. So now they think of me, they think of my business, they think of, they see me as a leader, they see me as somebody that they can look up to, that I will have your back. I will put you on my back if you need me, and I will lock arm in arm when you need me to do that too. So that's really those simple little things, and just being out as much as social media as I can, because other people aren't doing it. They're shrinking. They're, I'm not really a social media person. And well, I got to tell you, if you're an insurance agent and you don't want to do social media, what makes me want to choose you over it? You're a dime a dozen. Get out there and set yourself apart from people. Chiropractors are a dime a dozen, right? I mean, there's a million of us out there. So let's get out and put ourselves ahead of everybody else and make people think about you. And it's, you got to get rid of imposter syndrome a little bit, right? When you first start doing that, like what makes me, You know, what makes me better? What makes me so special to do this? Well, because I'm just going to do it, you know.
I love that. I love that. I had a question I was thinking about asking you at the beginning, and it has to do with being a woman in the field that you're in. So as you were talking and doing all these amazing things, I kept thinking about the men chiropractors that are out there, and you know, the old school guys all up into the new ones. And I just had a question in thinking about how you've been able to navigate, or has it been any issues that you've dealt with being a woman chiropractor in the area, and how you've kind of conquered that?
That's a great question. I'm not exactly sure what the numbers are now, you know, male dominated field, but it's not like corporate America, where you feel that, you know, that gender difference.
Okay.
Where it comes into play, and I had this struggle for a while where, you know, early on, there's still a lack of women coaches and leaders in chiropractic. And so I'm working on setting myself up to be a mentor to women in the schools, and offering internships. And so I'm working on those things right now, because I really do want to show that women can really be leaders. We can be great adjusters. And, you know, I've had many men chiropractors come to me and say, I'm like the best chiropractic adjuster that they've ever had. So I feel really proud of that. So where the problem comes in is early on, so 20 some years ago, and I would go to seminars, and I would, you know, go to these leadership events, and the men would be on stage, and they would be talking about, you know, doing your affirmations every day and getting your exercise and your mindset and all of this. And their day looked like this. They got up, they went, they worked out, they showered, went to their office, they did all their affirmations, they got there an hour ahead of time, did all their affirmations, did whatever they had to do, and then they started their day, while their wife was home raising the kids. And I'm like, okay, I too am a single mom, so not my lane, right? So it got really annoying listening to the men talk about how you have to do these things in order to succeed, and I could never resonate with that. So that, you know, and don't get me wrong, I have a lot of amazing male mentors right now who understand that there are those differences, and they lead me in, you know, in amazing ways. But that was like, you're talking, the old school teachings of, you know, the wife is home doing this. Well, not my world. You know, I have a very different world. It looks very different for me. And so it wasn't until about, I think 3 years ago, and my daughter's 16 and a half now, and I could do nothing for many years. I couldn't go to, networking meetings. I can't, you want to have a chamber breakfast every week? Sorry, I'm out. Like, I can't do that. And there was nothing that catered to being a single mom. Like, it's, you know, and I do have to preface, I have a friend of mine who, no offense to, I love single moms. I'm one, my mom was one, but like, you know, we have friends who their kids are like in their 30s and they're like, I'm a single mom. It's like, okay, you got to drop the single mom thing, right? Like, so, but this is the current reality. But, so about 3 years ago, I was able to take her with me. She was 14. I took her to an entrepreneur growth conference, and it was led by the Black Diamond Club. And it was in Miami. And I said, it's not a vacation. We're going to have fun. But this is an opportunity for you to see men and women on stage, self-made, inspiring you about your future. Mm-hmm. And we went, and she pulled out a notebook and started taking notes. She was engaged. She loved it. She enjoyed being there. So now, flash forward 3 years later, if I ever go to a Black Diamond event without her, everybody's like, oh, is your daughter here? I'm like, you're a celebrity, because she goes every year and she goes to a lot of the events. So I've been able to, start to indoctrinate these principles into her, much like my mom did. But to go back to your point about, we have to find, what works for us. And I really had to, there was a long time before I could get rid of that whole, oh, I'm not going to be successful because I just can't do what they're telling me I have to do. So that mindset, that took a toll on me for a little bit, because I was like, these are my mentors, my gurus, you know? But I guess I need a wife. I don't know, you know?
Don't we all?
I don't know. Yeah. So, but yeah, so you just, you know, so I don't see it from that's the only really time that I felt it.
Okay.
Now I'm evolved so far past it that I can see it. You know, if somebody starts to say things and I'm like, yeah, that's because your wife's home raising the kids, you know. So I'm definitely, you know, more discerning of who I can take information from at this point in time. So.
Got it. So you don't have the issue of having to explain to people. I guess we're in a different space now with when people come to see you, they know they're coming to see you. You know what I mean? So it's not like they're a choice between you and a male chiropractor and there's a thing. So you don't have to worry about any of that. Okay.
People see my Google reviews and they call off of that. They're like, you know, or, you know, referrals and things like that. And, I mean, I did have, you know, there's one other major scenario that, you know, from a male-female perspective is when I got pregnant. You know, that's another, you know, pregnant woman can't really take time off her business. I wasn't set up for that. I wasn't, you know, so yeah, I mean, you've got expenses and 4 weeks off, things tank pretty fast. Wow. So, you know, again, if you've got either a second income or, you know, it just, it looks very, very different for women in that respect as well. And so so that's been part of what I'm working on right now is setting up these programs to get young women prepared. You know, like it's, you know, that was a crisis for me only because it wasn't set up financially for it. And so, you know, I just want to really inspire women in general to make sure you're prepared, because it's not if, it's a matter of when. You know, prepare for that financially, because that is what is going to be your safety net.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I mean, I have like a million questions to pose because I mean, there's a lot to unpack here, right? But I want to make sure that these lessons don't go over people's heads, right? So, you know, what I'm hearing, number one, is that you were willing. I've always said, you know, iron doesn't sharpen iron, sharp iron sharpens iron, right? And you had to have a certain degree of humility and hunger and desire to say, you know what, I need to find out what's working out here. And I know you made an investment in it, right? I mean, it's not like you showed up like, hi, I'm Paula, I'm special on me, you know, pour into me. So I'm hearing that clear as day, because I know a lot of entrepreneurs oftentimes are reluctant to make the investment. And it's just one of those things, once again, where it's not, if you're saying the words, I can't afford to do this, that probably means you need to find a way to do it, right? And I'm hearing that clear as day. Yeah. I'm also hearing that, look, you know, one size doesn't fit all. You know, you have to find someone that actually is good at pulling the best out of you, as opposed to them dictating to you what they think you should do. And I'm hearing that clear as day. And then I love this, I don't know any other word to say it, you know, I guess my male paradigm. I just think about it as just being, quite frankly, imperialistic. Just, you know, you were willing to do what you needed to do to win, and network and go out there and build a brand and create the relationships. And people ultimately do business with folks whom they like, know, and trust. And you went out there and you earned their trust. I mean, it was win-win all the way through. And I think these are just such invaluable nuggets that people need to really focus in and hone in on. Yeah, I mean, it's an incredible story. I love it. Like I'm taking copious notes. I mean, there's some business ideals in here as well, right? Because myself, having been a single parent at different periods of my life, I know what that's like. Where once again, you know, the events that those who are operating in a conventional or traditional sense, it's like it goes over their head. They're not really aware of how their business model or approach to doing business just doesn't fit a huge swath of the community. So I love it. I mean, I'm excited hearing everything you just shared.
Yeah. I think one of the nuggets here though is that in between that you just said, Juan, is like, you go to these conferences, they tell you this is how you do it, A, B, C, D, E, and you have to figure out that, and I've talked to women who they just will give up because they don't fit that formula.
Yep.
And like that next thing, that drive and that passion that says, you know what, even though you're telling me that I'm supposed to do it that way, I'm going to have to do it this way because it works for me. And having that transition happen is priceless. Is priceless. And it separates the men from the boys in this scenario.
Well, and think about this. There's no one right way to do anything. We just figure that out, right? And one of my favorite sayings is, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. So it's kind of to your point, Nina, is that, yeah, we've got to be able to sit back and go, you know, you could hear the same thing 10 times, but then on the 8th time, you go, oh, that's super cool. I've never heard that before. And I think that's a big part of it, and just being able to filter through, I guess, noise. That's just all I kept thinking last year was filter through the noise, find the message, and find the clear path, follow it, know what's at the end of the path, because I love shiny objects. And this has been a big lesson for me. I mean, even just, you know, over the years, like I've had to really become clear what's at the end of this year, next year, 5 years. That was always I don't know why goal setting has always been tough for me. You know, I think part of it, like I never had somebody to help me navigate to, like, if I know I want to drive to Los Angeles, what's the best path to take? And so I feel like I have the leadership now, and I have the messages that make sense to me, rather than, you know, trying to, like you're saying, Nina, people give up. And that's, you know, that's sad, right? I think in some of those questions you guys asked, you know, what are the challenges? I think fear. I never thought about people giving up. It's just a great point that if you don't resonate with the message and but that's where I was, right? Like, well, I can't do that. I guess I can't succeed until I can, you know, well, it'll be 18 years till my daughter's out of the house so I can, you know, get up at 5 and go work out and do my affirmations. And, you know, I do my affirmations in the shower anyway. What is, you know, like, just do what you do, right? I mean,
Yes, love that.
Get it done because you have to.
You have to.
Another thing, and this is my, you know, when you were talking earlier, my marketing ear, you know, clicks off when you're talking about social media and things like that. I think another unconventional thing that you've done that you've proven now that people get scared to do or fearful to do is that you didn't just silo yourself in learning from just your chiropractic or medical community. So as like a marketer, I've worked with a lot of medical people and like dentists and things like that. And they always want to know, what are the other dentists doing? What are the other, you know, chiropractors doing? What are all these other people doing? And not really understanding that you've proven that it's more of what does our community need? What else is working in our community? How can we bounce off from other people in the community to support each other? And I think that that's such a real testimony to how much faster even that you've been able to reach that success, that you didn't pigeonhole yourself into just this one area of I'm only going to network with other people that are within like my industry that can help bring people to me, and understanding like, yeah, the daycare center has moms and babies and whatever that might need your care too, but that wasn't always just the focus. So yeah, I'd love if you speak a little more on that, of just like why it was so important to you to, you know, move out and branch out around for the community as a whole, rather than just your industry, to try and bring more business to yourself.
Great question. So, you know, thinking about it this way, you all know, everybody's got to be familiar with Michael Gerber, The E-Myth. I think that was my first book that I read at school. And that just because you have a skill doesn't necessarily make you able to be an entrepreneur. Like, you have to be able to, there's a lot of things that have to take place in order to actually be the entrepreneur of the skill. And so I think, Rochelle, when, originally it was like you're saying, I'm like, okay, how can I build my chiropractic practice?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then it's a mindset shift. How can I build my business? Okay, how can I then build my business to a place where I can just be working on my business, not necessarily in my business? And looking at other people within my community who can be strategic partners, who share my ideal client, who we, again, like I just keep going back to leverage, it's more of an exponential collecting of the community, because, if I've got 5,000 people on Facebook and we got 20,000 people, right? I don't know how many followers you have, just using as an example. And then we cross promote and we can just explode that way. But if I'm just trying to do it by myself, it's a lot of freaking work. So I wanted to evolve past, like, here's the thing, guys, like, if I'm not a good doctor after 23 years, I probably should consider something else for a living, right? So, but I needed to be a better business person. And so, I feel like I had a rebirth of sorts 3 years ago, when I was finally able to, I went to a professional speakers training course. I did like 3 other major growth conferences that year, and I had a 40% growth up into 2019. So when you can really start pouring into yourself and recognizing you need to work the community in order to expand your business, and like you were saying, not just other people in your industry.
Mm-hmm.
And other people in your industry, not that I don't care what they're doing, because I do think it's important to know what your competitors are doing, but what are other businesses doing? How are they promoting? How are they? And then we just work uniquely together to create that expansion. But I just wanted to be more of an entrepreneur, less of a business owner, and not necessarily less of a doctor, because I'll always be an amazing and incredible doctor. But I wanted that. I didn't want to be, how can I expand my practice? Like, that is not an entrepreneur mindset. It was really just starting to expand and realize there's different levels, and going into business ownership rather than practice ownership. So it required getting out into the community.
So talk about, just in the end of that, you talked about the entrepreneur mindset versus a business owner, and not that that's and I don't want people to think if you're a business owner there's anything negative about that, or I don't want any of that, but I want you to talk about the difference between the two according to Dr. Ruffin.
Yeah. So for me, and I think, and again, like, I think it's a trap we all fall into. Like, we love business. We get into it out of necessity, as you said, Joanne. We are the practitioner, according to Michael Gerber's book. We're the practitioner. We're the skilled labor. We decide we can open up a business. And again, then you're still a slave. You're still chained to your business. You're still just locked into that. So for me, I don't want to be locked to my business. I want to be able to have more time freedom and more financial freedom. And I realized that being a business owner, I wasn't going to accomplish that. I needed to be able to work on things. I think about, what does it really mean to scale? Well, scaling means that I'm not just providing one service. I need to expand my services. I need to expand the dollars that my patients are coming in and spending in my office. I need to bring in people, because again, now I'm at a place where it's no longer my hard work that I want to get where I want to get by bringing in people. So I think when you start to expand to, you need to bring those people in, then you elevate to the entrepreneur side. Like, what do people really want? We all know so many people. And again, like, let's applaud everybody who's working hard in their business, but nobody, you know, I was at my office for 12 hours. I was there 2 hours past closing the other night because I'm trying to figure out the closing and people didn't sign in and I'm trying to get names. And I'm like, this is complete BS that I'm sitting here for 2 hours trying to figure out who didn't sign in. You know, like that's where people comes in really handy. I could have done a lot. I could have made a lot more money in those 2 hours, right? So for people who are in business, start thinking about those things, and also don't be afraid to give away the money. And when I say that, I mean, when you're used to, let's just say you're at a place where you need people, it's really easy to go, man, I'm really liking that 5 extra grand I'm bringing in, you know, you know, I've been able to grow, but you're bumping up and you're like, I could use a hand, but I like that extra 5 grand in my pocket. And if I hire somebody, I'm going to have to pay them 3, you know, I'm only going to get 3 grand per month, or 2 grand per month. You know, so you start thinking that when you have to pay an employee, then you're losing that money. And I think that's another mindset shift is that we're like, oh no, I want to keep all the money, you know? And so I think that is part of that whole getting locked into the business, getting chained to the business, not wanting to give away the money to the people who are going to help you actually break past that and get an additional $5,000, right? So you pay somebody 3, you get more money. So for me, that's, and that, listen, I'm still struggling with that, right? Because I'm like, oh, I like that extra money and I'm going to bring staff in and it's going to cost me this. But I know that when I bring that staff in and I pay them X amount of dollars, I know in my head now what it's going to bring in, what she's going to be able to do, and that's going to generate more revenue for them. So going from business to entrepreneur, I think it's really being able to let go of the thought that I can do everything myself, that I really, if I want to scale and expand, I've got to have people, and I cannot be afraid to spend the money on the people to help me get to where I want to be.
Okay.
I love it. I love it. You know, you said something as well that caught my attention, right? Because we all make our errors and judgments. We fail or fall forward, right? However you want to articulate it. And you talked about how entrepreneurs make common mistakes, right? And you mentioned money, right? And there's a phrase you said, you know, it's not a matter of if, but when. Like the BS.com is coming for you. You're not going to be able to escape it. Yeah. What are some of the errors and mistakes, I guess, that entrepreneurs make that you say, look, these are pitfalls you need to avoid. These are mistakes you need not repeat. And of course, you know, you talk about money, that's usually one of them, right? Not having a rainy day fund, not having business credit, not understanding the difference between revolving credit and installment loans, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to go any further. I'm going to turn it over to you. But what are some of these errors that you're thinking about?
Well, you nailed them all. And I think if I just speak for myself on this, it's, you know, I love shiny objects. I chase squirrels all day long, and I've done it. And I'm like, oh, that looks great. Here's 10 grand. Oh, that looks great. Here's 10 grand. You know, and it's like, if I had every dollar back that I spent on stupid stuff, chasing things that I thought was going to help me get ahead, oh my gosh, I'm a multimillionaire, right? But I wouldn't have learned the lessons that I did. So, you know, so that's where, so I think going back, like anybody in business, and when I started in practice, so whether you're a new practitioner, I mean, let's just talk student loans, people coming out of school, wanting to hang their shingle, debt, at least whatever it is, when you start in business and that money starts to flow, have a plan. I was killing it my first 3 years in business. But you know what I did? I took trips. I bought stuff. I bought a house. I was like, woo! You know, I was having a ball. And then 3 years into it, whoa, hey, you're pregnant. So it's like I could have had I could have had the majority of my student loans paid off in those first 3 years based on the revenue I was bringing in. And right now, I'm still saddled with student loans because I had 10 years where I was scraping because I almost lost everything because I was not prepared.
Mhm.
So that's that preparation, right? When you first get into business, have a plan. If you've got that debt standing behind you, if you've got student loans, create the plan. The more you defer that stuff, the more it's going to cost you in the long run. And I think, getting the guidance, getting the right guidance to get you there and help you create that plan. And listen, you guys, that doesn't mean go spend money on a financial planner. I worked with SCORE. Are you guys familiar with SCORE?
Mm-hmm.
So that's all retired entrepreneurs and business owners. And they came out to my office a few times when I was first in practice. And they helped me, and they gave me suggestions and ideas. And that is a free resource for people. So, reach out to them, look into your community. There's currently, I moved to my office last year, and we have it's a grant, a beautification, it's not called beauty, I don't know. It's a grant for a facade grant. That's what it's called. So I'm going to apply for that because I need a new sign, and signs are expensive. And my building's beautiful and doesn't really need an updating on the outside, but I'd love a really awesome sign and some great landscape, and it will help with that. That's free money. So look at these resources within the community that, look for those grants within the community. Call your township, call the DDA, call the county, find out what resources they have for, for women, for people of color, for just businesses in general that we can tap into. There is a lot of money out there, and people don't have to spend the money. So if they know that there's free resources, use that first. And then if you need to get the line of credit, and of course, I think having a line of credit is helpful anyway, because it's just a line of credit. It doesn't, open it up, have it there. So if you need it, but if you can get those free resources, way, way better. I would, and I think there's probably, I don't know, I'm just going to go on a limb and say there's probably more today. I don't know how much was available 20 years ago when I started, I just feel like there's either that or it's just my knowing that there's more available, but it's out there. So tap into it.
How do you discipline yourself now? You mentioned the shiny object syndrome being an issue. And I'll admit, because I do like to nerd out. And if something's fascinating to me, I can't put it down. I have to do a deep dive. It's like I get excited, I get addicted to it, and I got to learn it. Right. That's just, how I'm hotwired.
Yeah.
And it sounds, I think that's one of the things that allowed us to kind of resonate and get along too, because I sense the same thing in you. What are the processes or steps? How are you disciplining that? Right. Because it just doesn't go away. You don't stop being.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so I got clear, right? I have a plan. The plan is a little bit pushed back. My original plan was have one associate by June, have another one by December. So I've decided that I wasn't able to get, I haven't been able to get the staff in. So we have the staffing issues. So my plan now is I'm going to have 2 associates by the end of the year. Hopefully I've got somebody coming in for a shadow interview tomorrow. She seems like an amazing rock star. So I'm really excited. Hopefully she'll work out. So I got to get that leadership role in. Once I get that in, I can pull the trigger. So how do I stay disciplined? Is I have the plan. The plan is there. Just because I didn't hit the mark, just because I didn't get an associate and I didn't have staff hired 3 months ago or 6 months ago, I'm not disappointed. We're just resetting, right? Let's just reset. Okay, we'll shift the plan, but the plan is still the plan. So the plan is 1 rock star assistant, 2 associates. The office now opens 6 days a week. We expand services within the next 6 months. But I think here's a critical component because we love the shiny object. And listen, I wanted to learn how to create a funnel for years. I was like, I'm going to do it, Russell Brunson. And I got all Russell Brunson stuff. And I'm like, I am not going to learn how to build a funnel. Are you kidding me? I still somewhere in the back of my head want to learn because I just, like you say, I nerd out, I geek out. I'm like, I just think it'd be super cool. But but whatever, I don't have time for that right now. But I think we also have to look at optimizing versus innovating. So right now I am currently optimizing. And again, I'm keeping my eye on the prize. There are a lot of shiny objects I could chase you on. So, but I know where I want to go. I want to, I want to have a house in Florida in 2 years. I'm like, I have a Bentley that's on my wish list, and I haven't put a timeline on that, but I'm going to say 5 years or less. So it's coming my way. But optimizing versus innovating. So what I realized too is that if I can optimize, let me back that up a minute. I think as entrepreneurs, as business owners, we always think that bringing stuff in is going to help us, build and grow. That is innovating, right? So bringing the new services, bringing the new things in, that's innovation. What are you doing right now that you're super good at? What are 3 things that you're super good at that you could make even better? And you could bring even more revenue in because you're so good at it. So before you start to either spend money on bringing other things in or bringing other things in that just clutter and confuse the situation, take 3 things and optimize the heck out of them and get really good at them. So for me, chiropractic, I got that on lock. Nutrition, functional medicine, I got that on lock, but the process isn't where I want it to be. So that is part of my optimization plan now. I'm optimizing the way I run my functional medicine part of my practice, being able to increase the number of patients under nutritional care, being able to increase the number of patients purchasing from my online store. What can I do to fuel that? And then my third optimization is just some front desk procedures, because again, we want those on lock. So when we start bringing staff in, then I can bring things in like oxygen therapy, Normatec compression therapy, massage therapy. I do have a laser therapist who comes once a week, but that's, she's a little bit more independent and it's more of a service for my clients. It hasn't quite integrated to where I want it. But so the idea is optimize where you can, get that really good, and then okay, when I'm making X number of dollars on functional medicine and chiropractic, if I'm bringing in 30, 40,000 a month, whatever, put a number on it, then I can bring in oxygen therapy. Then I can bring in compression therapy. Then I can so set your goals for your optimization and when you're going to innovate. And then when you bring in that new innovation, optimize that before you bring in something else. So I think we tend to think that these things that we can optimize aren't working. They're not bringing in extra money, so we got to bring in all the other stuff. No, you just got to get good at what you're doing, what you're already really good at. And it's usually just the process around it, right? I mean, systems and processes are, failed in most businesses. I think if we go back to the question about what are common mistakes people have in their business, they don't have processes and procedures on lock. Get those on lock, optimize them so that any person can walk into your business, sit down and run it. A little bit of training, but the training becomes super simple too. And you're not having, training's a time suck and a money suck as we know it. Yeah. So the more that system's on lock, the better they're going to be. So optimize first, innovate later.
Nice. So we're getting towards the end. We always have a few questions that we ask all of our guests that we want. So we want to make sure we get these to you as well. So first things first, what would you consider your superpower to be?
Let's see. My superpower is, I have so many. Quick story, I know we're at the end. When my daughter was really little and it was Halloween, and she said, Mommy, you should dress up as Wonder Woman for Halloween. And I said, honey, I am Wonder Woman every day of the week. But I think when I talk about my superpower is connecting people, collecting great people, and being part of that community. So I'm a connector and collector, super connector collector woman. How's that?
Love it. Well, Wonder Woman's got her tool belt of lots of superpowers. So that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you shared with us a lot of important lessons. This is definitely a must rewatch so that we can take it in again. But if there's one very important one that you want to leave our entrepreneurs with regarding business ownership, entrepreneurship, what would that be?
Focus. If you are chasing shiny objects, you've got to focus. Get clear about what is at the end of the road for you. Again, whether that's a 3-month goal, 6 months, 1 year. If something comes in your path, you need to ask yourself, is this going to get me to where I want to be, or is this going to sidetrack me? If it's going to fulfill you to get to where you want to be, then the answer is yes. If it's a sidetrack and a shiny object, the answer is no. You've got to say no to more things than you're saying yes to.
Perfect. So, Dr. Ruffin, how can people learn more about you, reach out to you, and talk with you further?
So you can find me on drruffin.com. I'm also on Facebook and Instagram. So Dr. Paula Ruffin on Instagram, New Husdon Chiropractic Wellness on Facebook, Dr. Paula Ruffin. Anywhere you want to search for me, anywhere there I just plug it in and you shall find me. You can send me a DM and I'd be happy to chat and see what we can do to help you out.
Awesome. Thank you, Dr. Ruffin. We really appreciate you taking the time. We know you're busy. We know you've got lots going on. We're going to put those links that you've mentioned here in our show notes below so you can learn more about her and connect with her. And we will continue the conversation inside the NextOppSocial After Show group on Facebook. We invite you to join us there. The link is also in our description. You can head to Facebook as well. Go to our NextOppSocial page, click community, and we'll be happy to have you inside. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button here on YouTube or visit our website at nextoppsocial.com to learn more about everything we do. We look forward to helping you achieve a life of satisfaction and success. Thank you again, Dr. Ruffin.
Thank you guys so much. This was so fun. Appreciate it.